It's Monday and you already know what time it is. It's time for another edition of Mid-Range Monday as we highlight some of the best shots from inside the arc from week 8 of the NBA regular season. Tipping off in Toronto, Brandon Ingram gets the catch and go opportunity late in the shot clock and uses a crafty behind the back dribble to protect the ball from Jaylen Brown and Peyton Pritchard, snaking through the defense to get to a spot along that baseline. Another look here, Brown's stunt towards Jamal Shead gives Ingram the window to drive, although he's met by Peyton Pritchard as a help defender. With Pritchard in front and Brown on his hip, Ingram finds himself in traffic, but with no panic, Ingram dribbles behind his back, simultaneously preventing Pritchard from stealing the ball and Brown from having a chance to do the same. As he does this, he pulls the ball back just enough to protect the pill and then get low and weave between the two defenders, finding a way to get to the open space where he's more than comfortable shooting the ball. What a way to create something out of nothing late in the shot clock. Ingram's patience to let his handle control the defense and not let the defense force him into a bad decision is extremely key here. Moments like these illustrate what can happen when the game slows down for a player. This is a great example from Brandon Ingram on how to trust your handle and protect the ball in close quarters. And of course, it's yet another example on how to stay calm under pressure and have excellent spatial and clock awareness. Brandon Ingram continues to show he's as smooth as they come. Next, we go to Charlotte to see another Brandon Miller, wow the home crowd with the instinctual and smooth spin move to open up his pull-up jump shot. Talk about a highlight. We see Miller come off the screen to receive the ball on the left wing, which then sets up the pick and fade with Saloon. As he starts to dribble right, he receives another screen from Mason Plumlee, only to this time reject the screen with a nasty spin move that his defender didn't see coming. Because Miller tends to be a high-volume three-point shooter, Bruce Brown wisely wants to go over Mason Plumlee's screen. In fact, he did an excellent job beating Miller to his spot while not giving Plumlee a chance to set a screen on him. His goal is to jam up Miller and force him to work harder for the look he seeks to create for himself or a teammate. Unfortunately for him, Miller seemed to be a step ahead of the play, as his spin move allowed him to fake the defense and walk comfortably into a free throw line jumper. Deron Williams and John Wall were two of the best I've ever seen at rejecting screens. It's a great way to get open lanes by using your teammate's screen in an alternative way. Most defenders are used to having to navigate through screens, but if you time it right, you can catch them off guard and throw their momentum into your screener and attack the open space that wasn't initially there. Brandon Miller added some spice to it with the spin move, and it earned him a rightful spot in this week's Mid-Range Monday. As for new faces, we go to Memphis to see Cam Spencer use a smart ball fake to open up his mid-range shot, showcasing a high IQ play. What I first want to point out is how Cam did his work early. Facing a stronger and longer defender in Jeremy Grant, and knowing he's going to receive the handoff from Zach Edey, he gives Grant just a slight push off, successfully opening up his angle to come to the ball and run Jeremy Grant into Edey's screen. As he reads the defense coming off the screen, he knows Grant is still trailing him. He sees Dwight Reith in a drop and Toumani Camara in position for an interception to a pass for Edey, or more realistically, Jalen Wells. Knowing this, he knows his two best passing options is a lob to Edey or one back to Wells for the three. That's when he decides to fake the lob to Edey, which forces Reith to back up towards Edey, Camara to rush back towards Wells, and Grant to make a trailing effort to disrupt the lob. That small fake gives Cam Spencer just enough space to gather his feet and shoot the fade over Grant. These are the kind of plays that keep players in the league for a decade plus. In a fast-paced league, it can be very easy for players to rush in their decision making, but Cam Spencer shows once again that patience is a virtue and less is more. It wasn't the flashiest play, but it was definitely one of the smartest. I see you, Cam. Mid-Range Monday approved. The next two plays come from two guys who have experienced their fair share of battles over the years, Paul George and LeBron James. First up is PG, who uses a simple double between the legs dribble to catch Rui Hachimura off balance and sink the sidestep jumper. A closer look, PG walks towards the right side of the floor, noticing that the Lakers are kind of loading up to keep the ball on one side of the court. A wise choice from the Lakers, considering how much Philly likes to run isolations for Embiid and George in the mid-post. Seeing a small lane towards his left to attack and Luka Doncic closest to the hoop, PG knows that a simple between the legs dribble might be enough to get past Hachimura and aggressively attack the basket. With that in mind, PG gets low, and rather than one dribble into a drive or a signature pull-up, he dribbles twice, and we see that it's the initial dribble that forces Hachimura to bite. That simple move gave PG enough space to consider the jumper over the top, so just for good measure, he takes a step to the side to give Hachimura a tougher angle to contest, cashing in his first bucket of the game. PG did a great job getting lower than his defender and using a quick size up to change his defender's approach. He didn't force anything and simply took what the defense gave him. For the best scorers, all it takes is a little bit of space to get the one up on a defender, and this shot from PG offers just one example of how to do just that. Later on though, LeBron James makes his mid-range Monday debut with this step-back dagger to lead his Lakers to victory. With the Lakers up 3 and a hot hand, LeBron fights for position to get the ball against a smaller defender in Quentin Grimes. With Grimes playing him close, Bron gradually faces up, ready to make his move with just over 3 seconds left on the shot clock. After all these years, many of us know that with a defender playing tight and the paint appearing wide open, it's usually an easy finish at the hoop. But at this stage in his career, LeBron's got to consider other options. After the initial jab and drive left, LeBron indeed puts his head down and attacks with aggression. But with Grimes being strong enough to prevent the drive, Bron uses his extra strength advantage to push off Grimes and get to his signature step back going left. With space and time on his side, LeBron rises up, fading away from Grimes for even more space, and watches as his dagger upsets the Philly fans. LeBron has done this for years now. He protected the ball in the triple threat, his driving ability forced Grimes to step back a bit, and his strength allowed him to create space upon the step back. For decades now, defenses have forced LeBron to go left, trying to pick the lesser of two evils. On numerous occasions, we've seen LeBron go to his step back 3 going left in the clutch. While he opted for the midi here, it was essentially the same shot, and there was still nothing the defense could do because every spot is LeBron's spot. An excellent display of patience and using strength to one's advantage. Not bad for a pass first guy, huh? Good to see LeBron finally earn a spot on Mid-Range Monday. Moving west now, we head to Utah during their game versus the Thunder to highlight a player you probably didn't see coming, Ousmane Dieng. In the fourth quarter, he tricked his defender with the smooth snatchback before leaning back like Fat Joe into the fadeaway. Simple mathematics for Dieng here. Crossover and attack the space between the defender. Once you make contact, step away from him. And even as Filipowski recovers, come to a jump stop, lean into the defender's midsection, elevate off 2 feet, and give him the high top fade. In his 4th year now, he hasn't played much for the Thunder, but this is exactly why they are so dangerous. Even with superstars out, they have guys that can make plays like these. Ousmane attacked his defender with simple, effective moves and was skilled enough to get the bucket to go. Whether superstar, starter, or even bench player, there's room for everybody to contribute to the mid-range masterclass. Welcome to the club, Ousmane Dieng. Moving to Indiana now, we see the first appearance for another beloved veteran, Mr. Why Not himself, Russell Westbrook, who splits the defense and gets the tough fadeaway to go along the left baseline. As Russ brings the ball up, he's already planning and surveying how he's going to attack these screens from Maxime Reynaud and Keegan Murray. With patient dribbles, Russ gets to decide how he wants to attack. If he goes right, it's guaranteed he runs into the best shot blocker in the league, Jay Huff. But if he goes left, he can attack the smaller and less experienced Ethan Thompson. Russ chooses the latter, inching towards his left side to receive the screen from Murray, which forces Thompson to jump into perfect help position. However, Russ rejects Murray's screen and splits the defense, maintaining his dribble as he attacks the open space between Huff and Thompson. With a shot blocker on his hip now, Russ wisely weaves just a little bit towards his left, getting to that left block before coming to a quick jump stop and shooting over the outstretched hand of Huff. Nothing but nylon. Russ was in quite a rhythm this game as he knocked down multiple Dirk fades throughout the contest. Russ is no stranger to the mid-range masterclass, but he thrives in it differently than he once did, showing that even as he has adjusted his game, he's found a way to still be money from inside the arc. Don't let the triple doubles fool you. Russ has always had a knack to get a bucket, and 18 years in, he's showing that he hasn't lost a step. Now heading to Minnesota as the Suns faced off against the Timberwolves, and you guessed it, it's Dillon Brooks using a pivot series to knock down the fadeaway over Julius Randle as he continues to showcase his mid-range bag week by week. With the ISO up top, Julius Randle is forcing Dillon Brooks to his non-dominant hand. With that in mind, Brooks attacks Randle with a gradual between the legs dribble, using the change of direction to get to his dominant hand. As Randle's stance opens up, Brooks drives right and slightly uses what's known as the hammer to try and prevent Randle from staying with him. As he does this, he then leans into Randle, giving him a bump and a push-off to create space. We see him think about the fade right there, but says no. So he then goes to the step through underneath Randle's right arm, but he says no to that one too. That last fake though caused Julius to jump too far over, opening up the fadeaway that Brooks thought about taking initially. Just like I mentioned last week, there are various games within the game of basketball, one of them being cat and mouse. Julius did a great job not leaving his feet, yet while he stayed with the first fake, it was the second fake that threw him off guard. Brooks was equally stubborn and patient enough to give not one, but two fakes until a better window opened up. Admittedly, he may have gotten away with lifting that pivot foot a bit, but again, no whistle means keep playing. And Dillon Brooks finished the job with impressive improvisational skills. It's still early, but after 3 weeks of this series, it's safe to say that Dillon Brooks is making a strong case for mid-range MVP. Back to Toronto we go, but this time it's to see Jalen Brunson use a nice pullback dribble to catch Jakob Poeltl off balance and convert the in-between bucket. After getting the handoff from Josh Hart, Brunson is aware that there is much more space towards the baseline than there is going to his dominant side. So with a quick jab/stunt to convince Jamal Shead he's going left, he temporarily uses Josh Hart as a wall, which gives Hart more time to flip to the opposite side and set a strong pick on Shead. So not only is Brunson able to attack the area of space, but he successfully gets the mismatch on the taller yet slower Jakob Poeltl. However, with Cat cutting to the weak side corner and Bridges cutting underneath to fill the space in the strong side corner, Brunson has to go back left, which allows him to attack Poeltl with his strong hand. With Poeltl playing him tight and Ochai Agbaji as the help defender at the nail, Brunson is able to pull back his dribble, catching Poeltl out of position and creating space from the defense, setting up the calm jumper right over Poeltl. Jalen Brunson has one of the best step backs in the league. Once he gets a step on the defense, it's already too late, as his ability to take advantage of driving angles is second to none. Many of Brunson's points come from the mid-range, and shots like these continue to be a regular part of his highlight reel. For this next play, it's fitting we go to Los Angeles because De'Aaron Fox put on a show in Hollywood using a shifty combo to hit what I would call the shot of the week. Woo! An all-star move from an all-star player. Upon the catch in the corner, Fox gives Austin Reaves a very slight jab towards the baseline, but Reaves does a good job not falling for it. He slides with De'Aaron as Fox dribbles towards the middle. But here is where Fox catches Reaves off guard. The minute Reaves is on his hip, he goes behind his back, only for Reaves to still stay with him. But with one last pound dribble, Fox pivots the other direction, getting Reaves to finally trip on his own feet and make sure he's got a great view to see him hit the wide open jumper. De'Aaron Fox shows us why counter moves are imperative as a scorer. Austin Reaves clearly wasn't ill-prepared, just outmatched by better offense this possession. No baseline? No problem. No middle? No problem. Still no baseline? No problem. Great scorers never take no for an answer, and combined with constant change of direction, this shot from De'Aaron Fox is a great example of that. The lefty scorer showed us that there was nothing lucky about that shot. Returning to the series in back-to-back weeks now is the ever-so-smooth Kevin Durant, who gets the difficult bank shot to go versus the Clippers. Another look here, we see him come off the screen set by Alperen Sengun. With John Collins doing a good job fighting over, KD catches it in the corner, with Collins forcing him to go baseline and be met by Ivica Zubac. However, Collins gets a little overzealous in his approach as KD is able to drive closer to the basket while shielding off Collins behind him. With Zubac in a tough spot to either be ready for the pocket pass to Sengun or the jump shot by Durant, KD decides to indeed rise up for the shot, hoping to get a foul called on Collins. He may not have gotten the call, but he did do a good job of using the glass to ensure his chances of making the tougher off-balance shot. This was yet another example of how to operate in tight spaces and the importance of not being afraid to use the glass on off-balance shots. He usually makes it look easy, but KD's never been shy to take the tougher shots when needed. The legend still got it as he continues to climb up the all-time scoring list. Back to another Eastern Conference matchup, we head to Milwaukee to see Jaylen Brown beat the first quarter buzzer with the mean drag crossover on Jericho Sims. Recognizing the mismatch, Jaylen Brown backs up in a favorable position versus the big man. At the top of the circle, Brown uses a couple dribbles to move towards his right, seemingly telegraphing his eventual crossover back to his left. But where Jaylen Brown gets Sims is when he decides to give an extra stutter with his right foot before going into the traditional crossover. This absolutely stunned Sims, as he was sure Brown was headed towards his dominant side. Knowing a last-ditch recovery was on the way, Brown gets to his spot at the free throw line and steps back just to make sure he's got some extra space to convert the jumper. Sims actually did a solid job not giving up on the play and giving some sort of contest at the end there. This is why it's so important to keep your moves simple against taller mismatches. They may not be as quick, but they can cover more ground with their size. Fortunately for Jaylen Brown, as long as there is a shot window, he has a chance to score, and he used a great crossover to get separation and make a highlight-worthy shot. He's another guy that continues to make his case for mid-range MVP. Up next, we finally get a Pelican representative as Jeremiah Fears adds his name to the list of rookies featured in the series as he beats the shot clock buzzer with some flawless change of direction against Deni Avdija. With the Pelicans against the clock, Fears ends up with the ball with just under 4 seconds left, which if you've learned anything from this series, is more than enough time for a skilled scorer to get a good look at the hoop. It seemed it was fate that the ball ended up in Fears' hands. With Avdija playing him upright, Fears drives left, attacking the space given to him as he tries to get as close as he can to the hoop before he has to shoot. Just as he gets Avdija to anticipate the drive, he crosses over through his legs to his right. And just as Deni Avdija is about to recover, Fears hits him with another crossover, this time a hezi, straight into another between the legs cross back to his left. This forces Avdija out of position and as a result, lets Jeremiah Fears rise up for the shot with just under 2 seconds left to spare, successfully beating the horn. Look at the veteran poise from the rookie. Fears is one of several rookies in this draft class that plays like he's been here before, and I was very impressed with this combo he gave Deni Avdija. He played with purpose and seemed to know how his defender was going to react before he even made the moves. And admittedly, it doesn't surprise me, as Deni Avdija underestimated the situation and didn't seem ready to slide his feet against the shifty rookie and paid for it. Jeremiah Fears has already shown flashes of the kind of player he can become in this league, and with more plays like these, he may be able to help lead the next generation in the mid-range masterclass. Only time will tell. As much as I've tried to avoid doing this, we're back to Charlotte to celebrate a first on Mid-Range Monday. Brandon Miller shows up again with impressive footwork against the Chicago Bulls. I mean, this shot was too nice to pass up on. And oddly enough, the 3 times Brandon has appeared in this series, each shot was a free throw line jumper. An interesting trend from him thus far. Miller starts up top using the screen set by Drew Peterson. He fakes the reject with the between the legs dribble and then crosses over to his left, getting matched up against Kobe White, who's a couple inches shorter. With the hesitation dribble, he explodes towards his left, with Kobe White on his hip. But what really stopped him in his tracks was Tre Jones stunting from the strong side corner. This forces Brandon to use that spin move we saw from earlier to find space in the opposite direction, only to mishandle it a bit and now be met by Julian Phillips in that space, who is denying the pass back to Peterson. And with Kobe White staying with him, Brandon is in a very tough spot with the shot clock going down. But rather than forcing the fadeaway towards his right shoulder, he showcases some nice footwork by pivoting the opposite direction straight into a one-legged fade over White, just barely beating the shot clock. We've seen some impressive moves from Miller so far, yet I did not know he had that in his bag. You've heard me say it often, great scorers don't see problems, only solutions, and Brandon Miller exemplifies that here. Kobe White did a good job walling up Brandon and forcing him to pick up his dribble with his back to the basket, and that still didn't stop him from scoring. As a defender, sometimes you do everything right and still end up on the other side of a highlight. Brandon Miller continues to grow as a scorer and continues to add to his growing list of crafty mid-range buckets, becoming the first player to be featured twice in one video so far. Traveling back to Philly, this time it's the Pacers who are in town as we see Pascal Siakam get to his sweet spot at the elbow and make Justin Edwards stumble with a mean snatchback dribble. Pascal is one of the best in the mid-post, but who knew he had a handle like this? After the block from Andre Drummond, the Pacers are forced to scramble to get another shot before the shot clock goes off. Pascal takes matters into his own hands, and he chooses to make a play despite Tony Bradley calling for the ball inside. Pascal Siakam knows Paul George is great in the passing lanes, and Drummond is getting back inside to cover Bradley. Additionally, with the mismatch on the shorter Justin Edwards, Siakam likes his chances to attack him. With Edwards late getting into position, Siakam already has a favorable amount of space going towards his dominant hand. Giving him a hesitation for extra momentum, Siakam attacks the space and keeps Edwards on his hip. And while usually someone that goes for the spin move, this time he goes underneath his leg and pushes off, sending Edwards flying towards the paint. With now plenty of space to think about the jumper, Pascal takes his time and completes the play with the sound of a swish. Snatchback and pullback dribbles are very common in situations where the defender is on your hip, as it allows you to stop on a dime while protecting the basketball. And in most cases, it can give you a highlight as defenders are often caught off balance. Pascal Siakam isn't known for his handle, but it certainly came in handy when he needed it the most. I've been waiting for Pascal to show up in this series, and of course he had to make his debut in dramatic fashion. I see you, Spicy P. Moving over to DC now, CJ McCollum earns a spot in back-to-back weeks with this crafty bucket over the reigning Defensive Player of the Year. Look at how CJ sprints towards Marvin Bagley to receive the handoff, ensuring he gets free to get the ball. And just like last week, Marvin Bagley once again comes in the clutch and sets a strong screen to give him the mismatch versus Evan Mobley. Although he nearly carried the pill deciding whether or not to pass, he keeps his dribble alive and attacks the angle Evan Mobley is giving him. With Mobley on his hip and liable to block his shot, CJ knows his next move is crucial. He quickly spins the opposite direction, catching Mobley off balance, and steps back for extra space to make the shot over the contest from Mobley. This is another example of why you can't overthink against mismatches. If CJ plays with his food, he only gives Mobley more time to time the block. But CJ did the right thing by going to his first counter move, the spin, which successfully got Mobley off balance. And knowing that Mobley's feet weren't in position to give him a direct contest, he knew that if he took an extra step and elevated to shoot, Mobley would have to rely on his wingspan to contest, not his positioning. CJ was already at his apex by the time Mobley's hand was even in position to get a hand on the ball. Timing is everything, and CJ shows just how trusting your instincts and skill set can help you score on defenders like Mobley. In the mid-range, anybody can get it, and CJ McCollum ain't new to this. He's true to this. Heading back to Memphis now, we see another mature rookie, Cedric Coward, showcase his veteran-esque instincts in the mid-range with this high IQ spin jumper over fellow rookie Ace Bailey. Let's look at it closer. As Coward catches the ball along the left wing, he immediately attacks the seam in the middle of the defense, making Ace Bailey pay for being a step or two out of position. As he drives, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, being a respectable three-point shooter, forces Svi Mykhailiuk to slide towards the three-point line, giving Coward more room to work with. As he picks up the ball, he thrusts his momentum up into Ace Bailey's chest, getting him off his left side just a bit before finding himself under the basket. This is when Coward gives a small ball fake before pivoting the opposite direction for an easy fadeaway. Similar to what we've seen throughout the series, notice how Cedric Coward initiated contact first and used his footwork to get Ace Bailey out of position. It was the difference between a good contest and a last-ditch attempt to contest. The move Coward made is often used against hungry shot blockers, but definitely works against any kind of anxious defender, especially a rookie counterpart who's going to take the matchup more personally. The Memphis Grizzlies found a gem with Cedric Coward, and for him to be showing this kind of mid-range skill so early in his career is a scary sign for the rest of the league. Seems like Memphis found their go-to guy for the future. And finally, it was only right that the last play came from the otherworldly Victor Wembanyama, who stuck with the play to make this tough bucket in the clutch against an elite defender in Alex Caruso. First off, Wemby does a great job standing his ground and holding his position at the nail, not letting Caruso push him off his spot. With an on-target pass from Stephon Castle, he's able to catch the ball away from Caruso and use his body to protect him from getting the ball stolen. Then, as he faces up, he notices Caruso's hand in his shot pocket and almost raises up to potentially draw a shooting foul, but decides to not settle for a shot that might not go his way. As Castle cuts towards the hoop, Wemby notices the amount of space towards his left where he could potentially get a shot off. He quickly opts for the one-dribble pull-up, only to get stripped by Caruso. It's hard to tell if Caruso got him on the arm here, but Wemby's doing everything right. At his height, there's no way for the 6'4" Caruso to affect his shot unless he goes for low swipes in his shot pocket. It's risky because Wemby's doing a good job protecting the ball, so Caruso is more likely to hit him on the way up. That said, Caruso is a great pickpocket and manages to get some clean swipes on the ball. As Wemby recovers, he goes for the same exact shot, and this time Caruso gets a little too close to Wemby's midsection, forcing Wemby to nearly fumble the ball again. Even then, he still manages to get a great look at the basket, and let's be real, given the game is like shooting on a Nerf hoop for him, he still manages to get enough touch on the shot to watch it swirl through the net, giving the Spurs the lead late. This is where the work comes in handy. The best scorers prepare to use their moves in the toughest situations. This is a great example of how to remain poised against a very tough defender in an intense, clutch game with high stakes. He kept the game simple, didn't waste movements, trusted his work, and watched it pay off. It's great to see Victor Wembanyama taking the steps to grow his game and get fundamental buckets in the mid and high post, not just merely benefit from having a noticeable size advantage. The league is better when Wemby is healthy, and now that he's got shots like these in his arsenal, he's only going to pose more of a threat as he matures. That's a wrap for the Week 8 recap of Mid-Range Monday. Drop a comment and tell me your favorite mid-range bucket from last week's games, and as you watch the games over the holidays, be sure to take note of the players mastering the in-between game, as they may very well show up in next week's video.